Hi everyone, I am Dr. KatherineT.Kelly. I am a holistic health psychologist and soul healing specialist. I'm an author, a speaker. I also want to throw out the idea of the difference between psychotherapy and soul coaching, because I think a lot of people, everybody has stuff. Everybody is a human. Everybody's dealing with issues of the human condition, but not everybody really needs psychotherapy. So, I have created this option for people who don't really need therapy, but they want to be coached along in life, but they want a spiritual aspect to it. They want to really look at, my soul health model and see how they can integrate their life in different ways to help attend to each one of those branches. Or, maybe they have a specific situation from a relationship dynamic or a work dynamic that is kind of tripping them up and they don't know how to deal with it, but they want to do it from a spiritual perspective. And so I've been certified as a coach years ago. And I also, obviously, I've been doing mental health work for 37 years, been a licensed psychologist for 25, 26 years, something like that. And so I want to explain the difference because people have been asking me, what do I do when I don't really need a therapist, but I really want to be helped along, but I want the spiritual aspect. And, so I help people understand the difference because, of course, we can't go down the path of using coaching if you really do need psychotherapy, but you do a lot of coaching in psychotherapy. Okay, so the differences are soul coaching or coaching in general has to do with the fact that basically, you might need coaching. You might need some nudging along. You might need a fresh perspective. You might need someone to keep you accountable. You might need someone to help you problem solve things and connect dots and make a plan and strategize. But you don't necessarily have something from a psychological perspective that needs attention. So you might not be depressed. Might not be anxious. You might not be having some sort of relationship issue that's interfering with your life. It's more about how do you better yourself? How do you put yourself into that perspective of what I call elevating yourself to a place of radiant living? How do you elevate yourself and put yourself into that place? And so the difference is that with psychological counseling or psychotherapy, usually there's a presenting problem, as we call it, and there's an emotional component to it, where there is depression, anxiety, adjustment, something like that. But there's more of a clinical situation going on. And so I want to help you understand the difference between the two, because as someone who does both, I can pick it up right away when someone needs psychotherapy, but they're trying to get away with doing some coaching, or basically they're really not going through anything from a deeply psychological perspective, but they do need some sort of coaching or some sort of nudging along and strategizing and problem solving. So let me tell you how I do soul coaching, because part of this is I do all of these different soul healing perspectives, and a lot of times people want to figure out how can they use that to their advantage as they're being coached through the process of figuring out where they want to go in life. And so a lot of times when I am doing the soul coaching, we set up a situation where I have 20, 30 minutes before a session where I can do a meditation, go into kind of an intuitive place for them, help kind of gather information to the point where then I can tie it together from the soul perspective and help them go, okay, so this is what was going on in a past life. This is why it's inhibiting you now. Or this is the kind of dynamic that you're holding because of some wounds you've had in this lifetime, but it's basically about overcoming them so you can get to your highest good. Sometimes it's unplugging a block from money management or abundance or wealth, or sometimes it's confidence. Sometimes it's things that basically we need to coach you along for, but it's not a diagnosable kind of concern. I love doing soul coaching. I love basically being able to integrate in the spiritual part of this into helping people. There's so many different ways I work with people, whether it's opening them up to sacred finance, opening them up to their sacred abundance, opening them up to reach what their soul path is really trying to get them to, accomplish in this lifetime. I had a soul coaching client the other day that basically I've seen her twice. And the first one was a couple months ago. She just wanted kind of a perspective on what she should be doing to get to this next level. She's been working in this field for several years, but she really wants to kind of pivot. She didn't know how to get there. So I kind of, this whole hour was strategizing how to get her there. And then I heard this Mayday call from her. We had a scheduled session this past Wednesday. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, they're going through all these layoffs. I don't know if I'm going to have my job. I don't think I can handle another job loss. I need your help in figuring out what to do next." And we already had a session scheduled, so it was perfect timing because even before I fully got into the meditative place for her, I heard Spirit say, "Tell her to stick it out. Tell her to be okay with this." And a few other things came with that. And so when we met on Wednesday, I said, "Okay, I'm just going to tell you before you put any panic into this, you're going to be okay. You're not going to lose your job. Energetically speaking, it's not part of your contract right now to lose your job. And I mean soul contract." And she's like, I don't know if I can handle this again. She had some financial problems from the last layoff. And I said, "I don't know, but Spirit has said, stick this out, stay to this, you're going to be fine, and just observe." And I kind of coached her through how to get out of the emotional perspective of it so she could just be present. And she's like, "Okay, that feels so much better." And, we met for the hour, and then we know we're going to meet again in the future. And it was uncanny because by the end of that day, and we're a 3 hour time difference, by the end of that day, I received a text message from her saying, "Okay, wow, the powers that be, we all met today, and I'm not losing my job. You were right." And so sometimes going at a coaching perspective from the soul perspective, giving you a little bit of information from what is in your Akashic records or what I'm tuning into in your soul plan can help you get to that place of learning what you're supposed to learn, observing what you're supposed to observe. And then when you can get yourself grounded, you can take yourself further. It's kind of when we're whooped up in the human condition that we get off track or we feel like, "Oh my gosh, I can't handle this." And so in her case, the coaching piece of this, tuning into the intuitive side, helped ground her enough. She got through that meeting. She already knows her job's going to be fine that very same day. And basically, we're going to work forward to get her into the place where she needs to go so she can take that leap that's next for her. That is just one example of the coaching I do. I work with business owners, basically people who are trying to launch businesses. And I have a client right now, and again, she's on the West Coast as well. She's a 3 hour time difference. She's in California, a different part as well. And she's launching two different businesses. And I've worked with her on and off for about a year now. Just got another message from her saying, "Okay, it's time to meet. I have this next step. I want to kind of work through, see what's ahead for me, see what I need to learn as part of my process." I work with, that's just another example. I work with CEOs of treatment centers to coach them along in their leadership and how to manage all the changes that are going on in the healthcare environment. But I do it again from a spiritual perspective to help these CEOs and these leaders and these organizations stay within their own ground, learn what they're supposed to learn at the same time as getting a feel from a spiritual perspective of what's going to happen in the future of the organization. Individuals from just a personal development perspective, from career perspective. I have lots of clients I'm working with in that way. The reason I'm distinguishing coaching from therapy is that there is a different feel to it. A lot of times with psychotherapy, we have to go backwards. We have to look back to where the wounds are. We have to look back to where those soul wounds got integrated into a person. We have to do the healing perspective from that angle. With coaching, it's a forward moving process. You need a little backstory about a person, but really what you're doing is you're helping them move forward. You're taking them from that point forward and in a spiritual or a kind of an enhanced way, I'm able to take them into a place where, again, it's part of their soul's evolution. I can take them to that next level by helping them unblock what's in the way right now. So I wanted to explain this because as a therapist, I have to be careful with boundaries as far as ethics with what I'm doing with each one of these categories, but I want to help people understand the difference so that you know what you're asking for. If you come in and you're saying, "Hey, I don't know if I need coaching or therapy," I can help lead the way to help you understand which is which. But it's also that idea that they overlap some, but usually the psychotherapy piece is looking backwards, whereas the coaching piece is looking forwards. So I hope that helps. And the other part of what, again, is unique about me and other kind of spiritual coaches is that we can dip into things like the Akashic records. So the etheric records of everything past, present, somewhat future. When I say somewhat future, a lot of that has to do with free will and if you're overcoming what it is that you really need to overcome. But it's just such a beautiful kind of thing because I can do both, but I like to help distinguish what they are. But from the spiritual perspective, I get to integrate the soul in either direction that I go, whether it's the psychotherapy piece or the coaching. The difference is where people go. Usually it's healing, taking people from wherever their past was to now, somewhat taking them forward and evolving beyond that. But with a coaching perspective, it's much more clear that the process is moving forward. The process is getting out of your own way and figuring out what you can do to get to that highest level that you can possibly be. So I hope that helps you understand the difference. If you are interested in soul coaching, I do have a spot on my website. It's under the services tab, the soul healing tab, and it's basically called soul coaching. I'm happy to help you in any way and help you move forward. Again, I do a lot of that sacred coaching in a way that, again, integrates the spiritual aspect for you. I want to also throw out there that if you are a practitioner or a coach that wants to learn how to integrate the soul and the understanding of how the soul works in the human condition, I also have what I call the Soul Health Scholars certifications, and there's four different levels. I'm in the middle of teaching one right now. I love, love, love teaching these because of the fact that I get to kind of bestow wisdom that I've learned over the years and lifetimes onto other people and help them integrate it into their own world so that they know how the soul works, how to help other people, how to help people in their health concerns, how to help people in their coaching concerns. And so it's called the Soul Health Scholars Programs. Four levels. Go to my website. It's under Soul Scholars for professionals, and more information on that will be rolling out as well. But the first certification is already underway. I have another cycle of it that will be starting in January of 2026, and then level two will be probably toward the end of 2026. So anyway, here's to soul coaching, and I hope this helps illuminate some ideas and also clarify what it is that might have been a little muddy from understanding the difference between psychotherapy and soul coaching. I hope to see you soon. Take care.